nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable here. We got a packed house here. We got Rafa and Royce joining as usual, but we have two guests on from the San Antonio Athenians, and then later on we will have Mr. Ray Silva, who is the host of South Texas Border Sports and co-host of the Down in the Valley to talk CopaTejas with San Antonio FC and RGV getting it on Sunday night down in HEB Park here. But it's a pleasure to introduce Allison Fahey and Channing Borden of the both forwards and both of the San Antonio Athenians. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Super excited to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure here to do that here. And like I said here, Allison, I believe this is year 3 with the Athenians for you. Is that correct? I know it's stretched over, I think, probably a 5-year term with last year being off for that year. But I believe this is year 3 with the Athenians for you, correct?
Yes, it is your 3, and I am to be representing San Antonio and being with the Athenians also. So good.
And Channing, I'm sorry.
From year 1, and it's just gotten so much better. So,
And Channing, is this your first? Oh, sorry. And Channing, is this your first year with them? I know you played for UTSA soccer here. Is this your first year with the Athenians?
Yeah, this is my first year.
Birds up.
So I'll admit the Roadrunner season this year, I was hoping for a little bit better record, but unfortunately it didn't show that way. But I think the program is heading in the right direction here for that here. So, but excited to have you guys on here. So far preseason, it's looked great where you guys won against Central Texas Hornets and Austin Elite. So just to kind of get an idea here, we'll go with you, Channing. Here is, how's the squad coming together so far this year?
I think it's really awesome. We have a lot of girls in general, but a lot of them come from really good schools and from Canada and all over the place. So, yeah, we should be really good this year.
Royce, did you want to ask your question at this point?
Rafa, go ahead.
My question, let me see. What do you guys look forward as first to this season? What do you guys hope to accomplish this season?
I mean,
I think for us, we want to
honestly,
win the
connection
thing.
of the team is just getting stronger, and it's looking amazing. We're for one.
Yeah.
All right. How was the partnership with Juventus and Soccer Central? How's that working out for y'all? I know that's different from what the Athenians have done in the past.
I guess that would be more a question for Allison.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're in and out.
Okay, sorry. Let me ask it again.
I heard something different.
Now that the Athenians are partnered up with Juventus and Soccer Central, how's that kind of working out, and how is that different from kind of the facilities from the past?
The facility is amazing, and it's everything is just getting better with time.
Awesome, Harry.
And like I said, I do apologize. Seems like there's a little bit of delay with Allison's connections with us here. But like I said, we do appreciate her, taking the time, to come on here for that here. To me, like I said here, with the, in my opinion, what's probably going to be the toughest opponent of the Athenians, and that's going to be Austin Elite. Channing, kind of looking forward to the matchup against Austin Elite. I know 2019 when they played, San Antonio Athenians won at home, and then when the Athenians went up, they played actually at Bold Stadium and lost a close game up there to Austin here for that here. So, and I know you guys just played them, but it's preseason, so who knows what they'll actually be when it comes with the full games on the season. But what do you expect, from an Austin San Antonio, whether it's a matchup, especially with Austin Elite and San Antonio Athenians, with the history, and then just the San Antonio versus Austin natural rivalry that seems to cross all levels of sports, no matter if it's academy with my kids in it, or all the way up to the professional level.
Yeah, so that was the last game, or when we played them first. That was my first game with the Athenians. So I thought we did pretty well. I was super excited. I was like, oh my gosh, our team looks really good. And I mean, their team looks good, but obviously our team looks really good. And so I am super excited to play them as our first game. So yeah, we've showed that we can hang with them and beat them. So why not do it again?
I would have no problem with that for that here. I think Royce is our kit guy here. So talking about the kits here, they just released the sponsor on the front, the Texas Outdoors for that here, and then on the back they do have Chris Madrid's as a sponsor here for the San Antonio Athenians. But Rafa and Chris, your thoughts on the kits for this year for the San Antonio Athenians?
I like them. Adidas. What can you say about Adidas? A lot better than Nike as far as the jerseys. So real good kits. Hopefully, maybe they'll come out with a third kit. They'll get like an all gold, like a gold jersey with the purple. That'd be neat. Maybe in the near future. Like I said, for the third.
Your thoughts, Royce?
I was gonna say Chris. Taking over for Chris tonight. I like them, especially the all whites. Definitely gonna be good. In the hot Texas summer, and even the purples. I mean, they look light and they look they're comfortable. And the main thing is they look good, and they're gonna look really good, especially against Austin Elite when they put up 4 or 5 on them on the scoreboard. So that'll be great.
Do you have a favorite, Channing, of which one, which one's the home, which one's the away, if you know?
I'm not sure, but my favorite is the purple.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the purple as well.
Agreed.
Sick.
The white's nice and clean, but the purple, I don't know. I haven't seen that style before. Now it's not to say it's not done, but
yeah.
The only thing is, and I think it was Rafa that pointed this out in the kind of in the pre-show here, is the
sponsorship.
The Texas sponsorship should have been in white or black or something a little bit bolder to stick out. But that's
gold would have been cool. Yeah,
gold would have been good,
like the Adidas badge. Yeah, that'd have been good.
That would have been the way to go on that. But Channing, it was definitely, thank you for coming on, and Allison, sorry we had a bad connection here, for that here, but thank you both for coming on here. Like I said here, here comes Allison here. Or maybe not. For that here. Hi, Allison, welcome back. Hi, Allison, welcome back. Yeah, we were just going over the kits here, with the new kits, talking about, how they looked great and stuff. for that here. Any final comments that you have, and then like what as I mentioned, I'll go over kind of preview the Southwest group a little bit here for that here. But any final questions or any final comments that you guys have for the fans that may be coming out to Soccer Central this year, which is free attendance to come out, and like I said here, will have seating, and you can bring your own chair as well for that here, and they do plan on having food trucks and merchandise that'll be able to purchase throughout the game, as well as they may have a brewery there for pregame tailgate and possibly even longer for that here. So if you're over 21, and responsible and not driving, be able to have some adult beverages for that here. But any final thoughts from you, Channing, before we let you go?
Just come out and cheer loud.
I will be out this Saturday.
Short and sweet, love it.
So I will be out. I'll definitely be out this Saturday here. I'll probably bring AJ with me here because we went to the Syntex one for that here. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Channing, and thank you, Allison. I know it didn't quite work out, with
Words
the
up.
connection here, but thank you, and
thank you, Allison, as well.
Good luck, and hopefully you score 5 goals against Austin Elite. It would not hurt my opinion.
Me either.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, and just to kind of go over the San Antonio Athenians, that they're going to be playing at Soccer Central, which is on the west side here. They previously have been playing over on the northeast side. But when they were sold to Juventus, they moved over to Soccer Central, which is at 6610 Low Bid Lane, San Antonio, Texas, for that here. The schedule, their home games kick off at 7:30 for that here. They're going to play Austin Elite on May 15th. Then the following weekend, they'll play against Syntex Hornets, who they also played in preseason and won against. June 5th, they'll travel on the road to Wilco, which is up in Austin. They'll come home and play Tulsa side FC 92 and Wilco again. And then they'll also play June 19th against Back Country, which is a team from Austin. And then they finish up with 3 on the road in playing in the Austin area against Syntex Hornets, Back Country FC, and FC Austin Elite here. The group is actually made up of the group of UWS Southwest, with the Athenians is Central Texas Hornets, which are based out of Kyle, Backcountry out of Austin, Texas. There are 2 Dallas teams that they don't actually play, Lone Star Republic, which is in North Dallas and Richardson, Texas, and Alacrane's Fort Worth, which was just announced last week, who replaced Dallas International, who had to drop out. And then the furthest team away is side FC 92 and Williamson County FC, which is Wilco up in the North Austin area here. So, and from my understanding, I've reached out from the Athenians here. They mentioned that admission is free, and they are hoping to kind of get as many people as they can out to the Soccer Central Field 1 for that here. And as I mentioned earlier, there will be food trucks and merchandise available to purchase throughout the game. And at least pregame at this time, they will have a brewery there. I know the Crocketeers are also in discussion with them, possibly about going out and attending and tailgating the first game here for that here. And like I said, there will be 4 bleachers set up, should seat about 125. And then, of course, you can also bring your own chairs for that here. So just my studying of the UWS Southwest here, it does look like it's going to be, at least on the surface, a race between the Austin Elite, who was attempting to, and San Antonio Athenians will probably be the 2 powerhouses. Lone Star Republic, Alacrane's Fort Worth are kind of a little bit unknown. Side FC looks to be kind of an academy structured team that's built up underneath it. Syntex Hornets, I think, will surprise a little bit of people. I don't know if they have the strongest roster, in speaking with David, for that here as far as compared to the talent of the Athenians, but I think they will be very competitive along those lines. But I think the expectation is, this is going to be between the Athenians and Austin Elite to see who can make it to the playoffs on there here. So, any final thoughts on the San Antonio Athenians, either Rafa or Royce?
Go ahead, Royce.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. No, it's exciting. I'm really happy they're back. It's just good to have them back. I'm happy they got the partnership with Juventus. They're honestly right down the road for me now, so I definitely need to take my kids. But it's great. Soccer Central is a good facility.
It's growing. It's still we went out for the syntax.
I should say it's new and it's developing. I'm not going to say it's great yet, but it's new and it's developing, and that's exciting. That's exciting just for San Antonio in general. That a very
multi-million-dollar facility.
Exactly. Okay, I wasn't going to give money, but it's a very nice facility, and it's coming. It's in San Antonio, and it's developing, and I couldn't be more excited. And the fact that the Athenians have been around for a few years, that in itself is exciting. And what's more exciting is the team that they're putting on the field, because I've seen all the signings they've had. Good Lord,
this team is loaded.
Yes, it is.
And I know I talked with Danny from Austin Elite quite a bit. I haven't talked to him a whole lot since since they've started signing players here.
Between his legs. Yeah.
He, like I said here.
Just kidding, Danny.
I still think I think Austin Elite will be very good, but to me, like I said, the Athenians have definitely raised their game. And like I said here, especially for the women's game, which I think draw very well here in San Antonio. If San Antonio is not playing like they are this week here, I would love everybody to go out there, because you're going to find some great soccer. For here, these ladies bust their butt up and down the pitch, just like the guys do. It's physical, and like I said here, these guys play an attacking style here. So, or at least against the Syntax Hornets they did, and it's to me the facility. Like I said, it's still being developed, but I'm looking forward to seeing the action this year of the Athenians and catching quite a few games, because I think it's about 10-15 minutes from the house. So I know all the people that are over, used on the northeast side that had SAFC and the Athenians. Now you get to share some of the pain of having to cross town to catch them here. So that way you share the wealth a little bit.
Oh, darn.
Speaking of San Antonio, was a very interesting match this last week here.
Interesting is one way to put it.
So we'll start with injuries that were announced by the club here. Doyle's out with the lower body injury. Dylan, Maloney, Jose Gallegos, and the new one was Axel Schoberg, which we kind of figured after the first match here for that here. The starting lineup. And we'll have we'll have Royce go into it here. Your thoughts on the starting lineup? Seems very similar to what last week's was.
Last year's North.
Minus last week's. There's only
Cardoni.
Two people.
Cardoni's there.
And Cardoni. Two people from last year to this year. That's far here, but
it's basically what we defaulted to last week after Schoberg went out. Axel, get well soon. Anyway, Axel, get well soon. Sorry about that. It's exactly what we defaulted on. It was very successful last week. It was very successful this week until the 30th minute.
It was successful to a point, I'll say.
Right. So, okay. Let me go into more of the tactics, why it was successful and why it wasn't. Why it was successful last week, why it wasn't this week. Last week, we came up with that 4-4-2 mid-block press, and we went up against Colorado Springs in a 4-3-3. So, real quick, Robert Gallegos is apparently hurt. He has a lower body injury. What does that mean? It's a hockey injury. I don't know. Upper 9 times out of 10, upper body's a concussion. Lower body is grew his
Anything
toenails
below the
out.
waist.
Who knows?
And then
Who
below,
knows?
yeah.
But yeah, apparently he's injured. But get well soon, Jose, because that would be a huge boost this next week if we can get Jose back in Nathan's place. But let's get to that. So Colorado Springs had a 4-3-3, and basically what happened was they got over the 3 in the midfield got overran by our 4 in the midfield, so they dropped their two wingers up front back, and that helped us with the advantage. We only had to really deal with one forward. We still pressed really well. We were still successful in the midfield, and that's how we won that game. This one was a little different. Real Monarchs countered with their own mid-block 4-4 pressing 4-4-2. So basically they said, this is what SAFC is doing. We're going to do the exact same thing and just nullify everything they can do. And what that tells me is they were playing for the tie. They were playing for the draw. What ended up happening was you had Kamiri. The ball would come back to either Kamiri, Cardoni, or DePlane, and it would go over to Kamiri, and Kamiri would kick a long ball up to either Patino or Nathan. Most likely it was Patino passing it off to Nathan to go drive up front with Epps on that right side. That happened a lot. I sit right behind where Kamiri is, and that's what I constantly saw them doing. They're basically kicking it over all 8 players in the midfield to try to get the ball forward, which, I mean, that's one way to go around that press. It was very successful for the first goal. Basically, it was a long ball to Patino. Patino held it, passed it back to Lindley. Lindley threw a ball to Epps, and Epps scored from that right side. 1-0, and everything was looking peachy. Everything was looking great until the 30th minute. Rafa, take it over from the 30th minute on what happened.
Once that red card pretty much changed everything. One thing I noticed that usually when you have a red card, you're supposed to change tactics, especially kind of protecting the lead. Even though we got a second goal, we still kept it. I think we should have done a lot of better job going with a little bit different tactic, especially with a man down, and that really never occurred the whole game. And I know we were trying to do the same things, and like I said, Real Salt Lake was kind of taking advantage of a lot of the space that was going into, going
Monarchs
on the attack. Yeah. Same thing. They would call it Real Salt Lake Junior.
Yeah. I mean, Bodie was there with the assist and the goal. He is a Real Salt Lake player. So, and Malik Johnson is good enough to be a Real Salt Lake player. You might as well call him Real Salt Lake. Malik Johnson, by the way, for Real Monarchs, Tim Holt. If they release that guy, go pick that guy up. That dude is incredible. And he is the X factor that is why Real Monarchs ended up drawing this game. But let's go back to the play for the red card. Basically, once again, it was a long ball that came up to Patino. Patino laid it off to Nathan. Nathan tried to drive up, and the left back for Real Monarchs basically pushed, if you will, Nathan out of bounds and kind of kept Adam out of bounds. Ball kind of pops up. It looks like Nathan may try to play the ball, even though he's out of bounds, makes contact with the Real Monarchs player, whether you want to call that a kick out, whether you want to say it's incidental contact. Either way, it looks bad. The linesperson sees it, and she immediately calls over the center ref. They have a discussion, and they decide to give Nathan a straight red. Now, should it have been called a red card through my black and silver and red tinted glasses? I think it should have been a yellow at most. It wasn't. There was no intent to injure. It was not a kick out. It was more. It's kind of like one of the it's more frustration. It's not one of those, it's one of those things where, a dude will come up and he'll pat somebody on the head, and he'll do it a little aggressively, and they'll just kind of let it go like, oh, he's just, everyone knows that's poophousery doing that because you're hitting somebody on the back of the head, but the refs will be like, oh, he's just telling you good games. Like, no, he knocked the crap out of him in the back of my head. Same thing. It wasn't that hard of contact. it was not a genuine kick out, but I can see how the league would see it. The lines person, obviously, she felt compelled to go over, and she thought Nathan tried to murder the guy. I don't see it that way. I think the red card should be rescinded. Will it? It's USL that they're not going to really review it. They're going to be like, oh, it looks like a kick out. That's fine. We'll go with it. They're not gonna Zapruder film that play like all the SAFC fans are doing. So it's probably gonna be upheld.
But the officials allowed a lot of stuff prior to that.
That's another thing. That's another thing I was getting to. This was a very, very, very physical match from the onset. It was very physical. Sunshine. 45 per. Yeah, I know that's an unfortunate.
Charlie Adams, former RGV player.
But basically, what happened is it was very physical. There were a lot of "Hey, I'm here" fouls. Let them know you're here fouls. There were a lot of those all over the pitch, and the ref never called anything. He barely called fouls. He called a lot of the crazy thing was there were 39 fouls called. Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. Well, after the red card is when the ref really started hammering down and actually calling fouls. The first foul that he called was a yellow card on 17 for Real Monarchs,
which could have been a red.
It was basically the same thing.
Should have been a red.
It was basically the same thing Nathan did. PC's heading out of bounds with the ball, and he clips him from behind, which is arguably worse than what Nathan did, except one was out of bounds, the other was about a foot inbounds. So one was a yellow card, one was a red card. The same thing happened to Patino in the box, not called, and then another. I mean, it happened 4 or 5 times in the midfield where it was just called a regular foul. It's like the same play 4 different times, called 4 different things. And that inconsistency really got on the nerves of Olave. It got on the nerves of Marcina, because they were both very vocal, pretty much asking the ref, you got to call, you got to call it even. Like, what's a foul? What is a foul? A lot of times SAFC, especially PC, fouled the Real Monarchs players, and nothing was called. And I was just, one of the big ones that led to a goal was it Patino that went up, or was it Lindley that went up? And no, it was Cuello. Cuello before his goal held a Real Monarchs defender in the box, clear foul, clear jersey pull, not called. Cuello goes, finds a loose ball, puts it in the net. Hey, goal, no foul. Like, that was a clear foul. I'm not saying it was bad for both sides, but it just ended up being worse for SAFC because the red card was so dang early. That being said, so let's kind of go through the goals real quick. Like I said, Cuello, just before the half, finds a goal, finds a way, and that's what this SAFC team has done in 2021 is they have found a way. And
it was a good goal too.
Yeah, it was a great goal
off of a. I don't think it was a rebound, but
borderline foul. No, but basically he found a loose ball in the area and he put it in the top right corner. It was a great finish. It was a great goal. And it was shorthanded. It was a shorty for sure, Robert. But going into halftime, basically what happened was Real Monarchs went in, said we're going to do the same thing we did. We're just going to switch our 2 up top, or the wingers out wide, the right-sided, the right winger and the left winger. They switched. So you had Malik Johnson. He was on Gleedle side. Now he's on PC side, and the other guy was on a Gleedle side. And that's basically where both Real Monarchs goals came from. It came from the midfield distributing it out to Malik Johnson on PC side, and then Malik Johnson is the goddamn Flash apparently, and just ran by PC, crossed it back, and that's where pretty much both of their goals came from. Broken plays. The second one was a broken play that came from that. The first one is almost a straight assist for Malik Johnson. Came back, bungled around a little bit, and ended up in the back of Cardone's net, and that's how it became 2-2.
Here's a question for you. for everyone here. Do you think PC is a liability being on the wing if we're going to get some really fast?
So
And then-
this match made it very obvious to me that PC needs to be in the midfield. PC is a 6. That is what he does. He's definitely older. He's everybody loses a step as they get older, and PC needs to be in the midfield. That is where his distribution is very key, and that's where his, I don't want to say lack of speed, but he's lost a half a step, and that half a step is big, especially against somebody with the incredible speed that Malik Johnson has. That dude is, God, I haven't seen a guy run that fast at Toyota Field probably since Gordon's first season. Like, that dude is just grease lightning. That guy is exciting to watch. But go ahead, Harry.
Jose has a question here. We'll go with you, Rafa. We'll start off. How many good services did Patino get all game? I thought he was on an island. I thought they couldn't reach the island, and he was stuck out there by himself. And
So going with what Rafa was saying, SAFC did not change their tactics at all. They kept up with the 4-4. They just had one up top, and Santi, to his credit, did the work of two guys up front. He was on both sides. He was physical. He should have won a penalty. That was very clear. If they saw that kick out, how do you miss that? And it was on her.
It was the other AR, you know. So
yeah. That's what I mean. It wasn't on her side.
Normally, when they change something, with that change, if they're gonna play a 4-4-1, you go to a diamond formation in the midfield to kind of cover the middle area for any counterattacks. But the problem that they had this game that we didn't do that they did in the first game is distribute a lot more of the ball on the wings. We lacked that, and we lacked crosses, and that's why they're able to kind of lock down Patino there with two guys, because he wasn't really allowed to really make those runs to the flags to receive the ball and then send those crosses in, or even our wings weren't getting those balls to play out the wings to send those crosses back in. I think those are the two big things that we were missing from this game from the last. But also, there was opportunities that we had that we didn't shoot the ball from the outside, and that really irked me there. I think Epps had a couple of them. I think Quayle had a couple of them. Just shoot the damn ball in. We got a sniper that can, pick off any little cherry pick to kick it back in.
Especially with the young goalkeeper.
Got away from doing that. Yeah, I mean, and then here's another thing. It's a young team. We have a lot of former MLS players. We should have used that experience to, play the ball around, keep possession, make them chase after it, and then pick our pieces on the attacks. That's another thing that we did not do, is expose their youth in order to win this game.
So what,
Robert?
Good Lord. So what? That's so unfortunate. So what I think happened, and I get your gripe, Rafa, for sure. They didn't go to the diamond, didn't give Patino help. What I think happened is whenever they switch sides, so whenever their winger switch sides, they went from Malik Johnson went to our left side, which is PC and Quayle. PC needed help, so Quayle stayed back a lot. He stayed in the midfield and he stayed back. Quayle is your number one attacker. So what I think Marcina should have done to counter that is either you don't want to sub off Quayle, but what should have happened was maybe Lima should have come outside to the wing to help PC out on the defense, and then you have Quayle in the midfield who could run, but then you sacrifice that, and you sacrifice your midfield, and you don't want to get overrun in the midfield, which is not what ended up happening. Where we got overrun was on the wings. And so SAFC got compact, and they did not want Real Monarchs to play through the midfield, which they were not able to do, to their credit. But they did get a lot of joy on those wings, and that's where their 2 goals came from, were play on the wings. So they really try to play conservative. They try to play to they try to play to hold the lead. It was a 2-0 lead. I mean, when you're up 2-0, you don't sit back. If you have 10 men, that's what you have to do. You have to sit back and try for the win, and it just didn't work this time. And it almost did work at the very end.
They had one at the
Cuello off the crossbar, which just was not kind. Because 9 times out of 10 that bounces directly in the net, and somehow it just stayed out. So overall, and before that, and the reason we got that opportunity was 17 with another really, really stupid foul for a second yellow card, a clear yellow card, borderline red.
Garcia.
So yeah, just bad. Another really bad foul from him. Just not a horror tackle. Wasn't 2-footed studs up, but from behind, nowhere near the ball, clipped the guy. Easy, and on his way to the net, they're both very easy calls for those 2 yellows, and he's off, and it's 10 on 10. And then from then on, SAFC was on the front foot. They had a lot of chances to win, and the ball did not fall the right way at the very end. You want to talk about Alamarcina's winning mentality? They went 60 minutes. Well, no, they went 50, just about 50 minutes down a man, and they gave the 2 goals, but they played really well, and they still put in a really good shift. Patino at the end looked like he needed an inhaler and some oxygen, because
I thought he was hurt though when he
was
went
just
down.
running the whole time. Yeah, that was scary
because he grabbed the back of his leg, like Schulberg did, and then I was like, oh no, if he goes down, we're in deep. Yeah, especially with Nathan out.
That is a very long list of injuries and suspension, so that is not good. And he tweeted earlier that he's healthy and he's good to go, and that's good to see. Hopefully we get somebody else healthy in Nathan's place. Hopefully either Dylan is ready or hopefully Gallegos is ready, because that would be amazing. But something tells me I don't think.
Could you see Ollie go up front?
Yes, I could.
I think maybe for the next game. I think Ollie
showed well, I thought.
So what I think Ollie, and this is kind of what I said from the beginning, there are 3 guys that have very similar traits, and 2 other guys are new signings, and that's why they signed him. This formation, the 4-4-2, was designed to let Jose Gallegos go out in space and dribble at people and make them look silly. The 2 other guys that have the same skill, or not the same, but a similar skill set, Jose Gallegos is a damn unicorn, are Nathan and Ollie Wright. And that's why you have both of them, is to kind of take place for Jose just in case. They're dribblers. They have speed. They will dribble around people, and that's exactly why they're there. And I think, Rafa, your prediction of Ollie Wright in place of the most likely suspended Nathan is dead on.
I do want to kind of push back on Rafa. I believe it was Rafa that was talking about PC, and this is from the SAFC communication team, Preston and Luis. They sent out PC recorded 5 tackles, 5 clearances, 4 interceptions, and 10 possessions gained in the match. So I know we're talking about that he'd maybe not be the right fit on the side, and I know he got kind of exposed, but being the captain, he did pick up a yellow card. I noticed that
that's my boy.
The PC yellow watch is officially started.
The PCYC,
has officially started. But when you look at his stats, I thought, yes, he was beaten a couple of times. He's playing a position that's not his normal position, but I thought he did well. Is that his ideal spot? No, but I think he proved it in this type of situation.
No one's saying PC is an inferior player. Nobody's saying PC is
but I'm just giving him credit.
Not great player. PC is a great player. The big difference is Malik Johnson's speed versus everybody else in the league, because that dude, goddamn fast.
And that's what he didn't see last week. Last week against Colorado, because Colorado didn't have that. And if you notice,
speed,
PC did push up in the attack in the first game, and that made a difference. This game, he kind of I better stay back, because if I go up, I'm gonna get burnt on a counterattack. So I think going into the next game, they're gonna have to really kind of reconfigure that back 4, to see, I guess as far as matchups, does RGV have the speed on the outside, which were they not? So we can say who we are.
I mean, I think we're going to talk about it later, but I did watch RGV against Loyal. Pretty much they have two guys that you really need to mark very well, and that is their forward, Amon, I think is his name.
Yes.
And then they have Cerritos, which would be on the right side, which would be on SAFC's left side. That dude's he's a lot to handle. So what you would hope is you can have PC in the midfield, you can have Connor Maloney as right back, and then you'd have Gleedle on the left side to just shut that dude out. And that's Gleedle is. We have not had an outside back like Gleedle. No offense to Blake, a defensive fullback. Maloney's very similar, but it reminded me a lot of Darnell King, just coming back and just stopping people in their tracks. I mean, Malik Johnson didn't do crap in that first half, and that's because Gleedle was over there and put him in his pocket. And then the other half, you saw what happened. So if Gleedle can go on the left side and the Maloney on the right side, we're pretty dang stout with fullbacks on the wings to shut down any sort of opponent.
So Jose has another question here where he mentioned move Coelho to the middle behind Patino, and then he'd be able to roam free and Ollie to the wing. What's your thoughts on that?
Coelho's not the defender that Lindley and Lima are / PC, because Lima right now is in PC's place. You need that defense. You need that. That's one of the things that I said kind of from the beginning compared to last season. Last season, how we kind of went down a path of failure is we only had one defensive midfielder. And this season we have the two defensive midfielders, and it made all the difference last season. It's making all the different. Yeah, Messi's like 4'9", dude, and he's the greatest player ever. So it doesn't matter if you're 4'8" in football. You're fine. They're both built the same. They're like squares. Nobody can take them down. They're fast as crap. No.
Are you kind of surprised we're not seeing Maloney, though? Because he did play in the last preseason match against RGV, unless he aggravated something.
He may have re-aggravated something. I don't know. And that's the main thing. I don't know. I'm going to trust the team that he does have an issue. Hopefully it's very minor and he gets over it soon. And the same thing goes for Liam. The same thing goes for Axel. The same thing goes for Jose.
Yeah. We're in South Texas. Isn't there like a curandero they can find and just do some
Everybody
magic?
needs a lot. Go to HEB, buy the candles, light as many.
Yeah, if there's any
Jesus
curanderos out
can.
there, you can go to Toyota and go give them that rub down.
Yeah.
So here's my question. I know Aaron brought it up as well, on his recap with Ticket 760. The subs, only one, especially with the team down a man for most of the match. I know sitting next to Rafa, one of his big complaints, especially 60 minute and beyond, was the lack of subs, because you could tell, there were some dead legs. They kept pushing, but, there were some dead legs. So we'll go with you, Rafa, as far as, number one, your thoughts, on, or your concern on the lack of subs and who you would have brought in on the bench. And I told Aaron, I was like, there really isn't anybody to bring in, for that here. I guess Shandon and Ollie were the two that I would have brought in. But at this point, there's not a lot of depth, because they're all, sitting, off the 18 with injuries right now.
I think those are the only two you needed to bring in, but I think they should have brought them in a little bit earlier, because you can tell there was some dead legs. I know Quayle was already running out of gas. I think they should have subbed him right away, put Ollie in or someone else. Our kind of our central midfielders really were worn out, by the 60th minute. And I think maybe that could have been a difference, getting some fresh legs in there to kind of just to kind of stops a lot of those attacks, and then hopefully get that ball up the field. We did create some chances with some of those guys, but I think with fresher legs, I think we would have had more opportunities to get that third one in, and really also to help Patino, because Patino wasn't tired, but he was pacing himself. And you can tell he was pacing himself, doing, choosing his runs, which is the right thing to do, especially when you're a man down. You don't want to, because we don't have another forward that can sub for him, because he would have been like an obvious third substitute if we have a good legitimate forward. But good things he didn't come out injured. But Marcina needs to kind of recognize and say, hey, if we have these guys down, we got to stick them in to kind of keep the ship afloat.
Your thoughts, Royce, on the substitution? To be honest with you, both teams really didn't sub. There were only 3 subs total in the match. For that here, and one of them came in, 73rd, 87th minute for the Real Monarchs, and Ali came in the 79th. But both of these teams, pretty much went with the starters and rode them.
And that's the point I was going to make, was that it was a chess match. What was going on was, it was a physical battle. It was war on the pitch, and I think Marcina was waiting until Olave flinched, and he didn't flinch until super late, and his sub was more like for like, and Marcina was like, I think he just kind of sat there, thought about it. That's not what I saw coming. What I think Marcina thought was that Real Monarchs were going to go for the kill. They're going to bring somebody in, just as dynamic as Malik Johnson, who was now on their right. He thought he was going to sub their winger. Not what happened. And I think that's kind of, it threw him for a loop. He just kind of waited, left what was out there, and then decided to go with Ollie Wright to say, I need somebody who can dribble. I need somebody who can take the pressure off. That's exactly what Ollie did. Unfortunately, he made that youthful mistake shot from outside the way outside the box that Rafa was probably excited about, but I don't think the rest of the team was excited about. But what I think that was the right call. Ollie coming in for Lima to try to get some attacking, and what I think was possibly the other alternate, if Ollie doesn't come on for Lima, because that is an offensive player taking over for a defensive player. I think what would have happened is Cuello would have come off for Torres, but you don't want to get too offensive when you only have 10 men. And then the red card for Real Monarchs happened, and now it's 10 versus 10, and that kind of changed it. And Marcina probably thought to himself, I already just subbed a defensive guy for an offensive guy.
No,
We're trying to go for the win.
They got the red card first. So red card happened in the 75th minute. Lima went out in the 79th minute. So he actually went more attacking.
I think if we're down a goal, then if we were down a goal, I think he would have made some more changes.
That's correct. Exactly. He would have made more changes. That's right. It is the 70th minute. I looked at that wrong. I'm looking at the ESPN timeline. It's so hard to read. Yeah. So that was okay. I'll take one defensive guy off for an offensive. We'll go for the win, 10v10. Obviously, with the draw's not the worst result. Obviously, 0 points is the worst result, and that's kind of what he rolled with. And I'm not questioning it, because I think he did exactly what he needed to. Take off one defensive midfielder, put an offensive guy on to go dribble, take some pressure off, take off pressure from Patino to be the only outlet. I think that was a big thing that he did. So Patino didn't have to run around too much, because Ollie would come and Patino could play off of him instead of Patino being on an island. I think that's exactly what he needed, the sub he needed to make. It just, it almost panned out with Cuello at the very end. God, that hurts. But like I said, not the worst result. 2-2 in this game. Down a man real early. It's not the worst result.
To me, I think RG, or not RG. Already thinking about RG. Real Monarchs.
It's because it was a physical game.
Yeah. Real Monarchs came out that first 10 minutes of the second half, and they had to. They got back in the game. And I made this comment both in the first half and the second half. They started out a little sluggish on each of the half, where that first game against Colorado Springs, there, Chris, the passes were connecting a little bit better. This game, it was a little bit more struggle, although their final stats actually looked better than the first game, surprisingly. But and that's kind of the difference, in the game for there. But when I rewatched the game, to me, I'll give my man of the match, and then I'll give you, and then we'll go to Rafa and then Royce for the man of the match. But to me, Patino, I know he didn't get on the score sheet, but the effort that dude put in, running down on both sides. I know you mentioned he was kind of watching his pace a little bit, but the dude busted his ass when he needed to. Epps got the goal. His first goal. With through as well as Swallow. For that here, but to me, like I said here, the man of the match with Patino up top on that island. Like I said here, I would have loved to seen a couple of those shots from distance, like Rafa was saying, because I have a feeling he would have got on the end of one of them. Your thought, Rafa, on your man of the match before we start to go into the Blue Collar Sports Dad interview with Coach Marcina?
I agree with you as far as the man of the match. I agree with you. I'd just like to see a little more shots from the outside. The one that came close to really, that could have probably been the game of the man of the match was Ollie Wright. He did make a difference. He did kind of change the pace of the game, and he was very aggressive. And he was trying to get opportunities to take shots from outside. I think he did take a shot from one that really surprised the keeper. Yeah. I think had he gotten one in, and for me, for sure, he would have been the man of the match.
Well, he had the long shot, and then he had the one where it was one-timed. I don't know if it was off a pass or a rebound, where he one-typed it in air, and unfortunately, it was to the keeper's credit, Duznup. He was it was an easy save for him because it was right to him. But to me, it could have. If it would have went in, it would have been a possible goal of the week, just on how he kicked it here. Yeah. But to me, I did see the difference in there. But obviously that was 10-on-10 at that point, and he had the fresh legs as well. Your man of the match there, Royce?
So I have 3 stars.
Okay, go hockey there, buddy.
I'm gonna be that guy. You're 3 stars of the game. No, but my 3rd star is gonna be Sam Gleadle. Shutting down Malik Johnson on the in the first 45. That was huge. They had you could tell I was yelling at the match because I'm progressively losing my voice the longer I talk, which I need to stop doing that as much. No, but Sam Gleadle really shut him down. They were really desperate for shots in that first half, and they kept firing well over the net and just desperate shots because they never really were able to get in the middle, and that was really Sam Gleadle and Kamiri just shutting stuff down there on the SAFC right side, defensive right side. My 2nd star is going to be Patino for doing the job of 2 men. You can't say enough about that guy. It's as a fan, it's inspiring to watch him every match because he's just hard on his sleeve and he is just running. And his effort is second to none. But my 1st star of the match is Matt Cardoni, who had 2 or 3 huge saves that should have been goals, and I think he took one right off the beak.
The save in the first half was
that's what I'm saying.
Point blank, and
that's probably the save of the week.
Yeah, I think it should be. I think it deserves to be, and that's why Matt Cardoni is my man of the match, and he's my 1st star of the match.
He ended up with 3 saves of the on the
3
match. 3
stars is fine. That makes sense.
So I'm not sure if Ray's going to be joining us because he hasn't responded to any of the tweets here. I did say around 7:45, 8, but let's kind of tune into the pregame of first match at CopaTejas USL for that here. San Antonio versus first place RGV. I know that's kind of tough to say, but You got to give it to RGV. They played 2 matches. New Mexico United, they won 1-0, and then they beat
San Diego Loyal.
1-0 by I think I scored the goal. If my last name was Sanchez, I think he's about as old as me. In the 87th minute,
You're 81 years old, Harry. I didn't realize that.
I feel like
I think that's more a dig on San Diego's back line than it is on RGV. Because how do you if you watch the goal, it's incredible. The two center backs for Loyal are there, and their number 6 is in the middle, and their number 6 is like, that dude's like 100 years old. There's no way he's doing anything, and he goes up for no reason 5 yards and leaves the dude all by himself, and he heads it in, and you see the guy
you blame Yarrow for that goal.
Calm down. But the guy, you mean
no, SAFC on SAFC.
But he puts but it wasn't Yarrow. It was their number 6 came back. But he puts his head in his hands and just goes down to the ground because he realizes that was the guy I was supposed to mark. I rocked away from him 5 yards, and then he scored a goal. It's purely on that guy because they set up well, and that's what happened. They stole the goal. That's what RGV does. They steal goals, and that's.
And how did Landon Donovan get his coaching license? How did he get his A license?
Money, because it costs a lot of money. But I don't put that on Landon Donovan. I think he played for the draw, possibly the win. He did a good job. It was nothing till the very end, and that number 6 just left his mark and forgot he was playing in a match, and that was it. And
Sanchez headed it home,
and the geriatric Sanchez headed it home. Yep.
And RGV is now first in the group at 6 points here in. Welcoming Ray Silva, host of the South Texas Border Sports and also co-hosted Down in the Valley with Edson. How are you doing, Ray?
Hey, good evening, Harry, and all of the audience in San Antonio, and RGV joining us tonight. Privileged to be here.
What's up, Ray?
Hey, guys, how are you?
So,
Monday.
we've got to talk about RGV, San Antonio, but since RGV's played 2 games and won both of theirs, if you give kind of a quick recap on the what's worked for RGV through the first 2 matches, 2 1-0 wins, over teams going in that you thought were playoff bound, and they still may, but they made the trip down to Edinburgh and RGV and HEB Park and went home with no points, which. Coming from last year is not something that's happened. I think you have to go back to 2016, I think, before where you've had kind of this good start of a season to get started for that here. If memory serves me right.
Yes, that your memory is serving you correctly thus far. Even though the team did struggle initially throughout its first 5 games, just remember that. The home opener, or the first ever inaugural game for RGVFC, ended up in a 2-0 loss to Los Dos, who had then Jack McBean, and I am almost certain that it was Ari Lassiter.
Yes.
For the other goal for
Flash from the past.
For the Los Dos side, and the subsequent home game ended up being a 0-0 draw. Both games played at UTRGV Soccer Track and Field Complex, if memory serves me correct. But no, moving on to present now. No, it's just that RGV is just finding ways to exploit these defenses early on. That they like to play with a lot of open spaces. They like to play a lot in transition, if that could be said. They are a very transitional team on offense, where they like to build up numbers and use speed to their advantage. Something that would not be seen in the last 3 seasons. Yes, they would have the youthfulness, but in the build-up, they had that costly turnover, which kind of put them back on their heels a lot more than what they've been accustomed to these first 2 games.
So, and obviously in the back you got a MLS quality goalkeeper and Tyler Derrick. But to me, the back line has to be the story. No goals allowed so far. The offense is doing what it needs to do, but I think for RGV, to me, the biggest story is nobody's been able to get between the pipes there, get one past Derek as of yet. So can you talk about the RGV defense and the vast improvement from the last couple of seasons to this year, and obviously it's a little bit more experienced lineup compared to years past here, but to me I think that's the highlight of the team with RGV at this point is their defense.
Absolutely. These first two games, the common denominator has been using JDC, Juan David Cabezas, another quality MLS player who was signed with Wilmer in the offseason. He's been like the what do you call it? The I guess the volunteer me center back if you must, if you want to call it in that way. And he's filled in admirably for the first game and a half that has been played. So that's one of the keys there. One of the other key important elements has been Carter Manley. He started both games. He started one as a center back, where Edson has said he likes him, and he's also started as the right back, where I feel like he gives a little bit more to the team because he has that ability of going up and down and potentially give in a cross or two whenever the opportunity poses itself. So I think those two have been the two mainstays. But then this past Saturday, they've brought in Eric Pimentel, who's been one of the more notable high-profile signings. Who's played in Mexico and
250 caps with Liga MX. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the guy's been there before, and that's one of the things that Toros 2.0 have not been able to have. And yes, I'll use this hashtag: things RGV couldn't do with Dynamo Daddy.
And to me, the other one here is he came from Sacramento, Rodrigo Lopez. With to me, he's kind of that glue in the midfield that we talk about. That's so important to be able to connect the defense to the offense. And I know we keep kind of going back from, hey, what RGV didn't have to what they now have, and that's going to be probably a common theme for this year. How important has he been, to be able to kind of help both sides of the ball, his leadership, as well on the pitch. I believe he's your captain, if memory serves me right.
Yes, he is the skipper. Yes, so, he's a skipper, and he's a very good distributor, and I guess catalyst for the Toros per se. He's the one that's been doing everything, but for me, he has done what's needed to be done as a skipper. Kind of hold that team together, kind of like bringing them up when you kind of sense like there might be a down moment where you think like, okay, this is where you feel like they're most vulnerable, despite having the center backs that they have or what they've used before. And I just feel like Rodrigo Lopez has been that one essential piece that's been very good for the Toros thus far.
So this is going to be moving more to kind of Royce's wheelhouse. It seems like, at least early on, looking at the Loyal match here, that you guys run a 4-3-3, which against Colorado Springs, Royce mentioned this earlier, that we seem to have attacked that fairly well compared to with the 4-4-2 that the Real Monarchs came out. From my understanding, just in kind of watching it and listening to Down in the Valley, RGV also plays a pressing style, high pressing style, trying to force the turnovers like, SAFC does. Kind of your thoughts. We'll start with you, Royce, here. Your thoughts on if RGV rolls out with the 4-3-3, with, up top, Christian Sorto, Elvis Amoff, and Cerritos. Top three as forwards have proven to be, at least through the first two games, opportunists, for that here. And then, You got Lopez, Murphy, and the youngster, young Kuzane, and in the on the other side, opposite of Rodrigo for that here. So your thoughts on how RGV matches up against SAFC for that?
So, I mean, how I think they're going to match up, and we'll see if it comes to fruition. That'll be a first. But they'll definitely roll with that 4-3-3. They've had success with it. I will say they've had success with it with a grain of salt that one of their goals was scored off a broken play and a deflection, and the other was basically off a set piece. And those aren't necessarily through the run of play. And where I think watching those matches, what RGV really has a tendency to do is really tries to go through Cerritos on the right. He likes to dribble. He's the man who was the RGV guy from last season that got hurt and that kind of derailed their entire season. Last name started with a T, I think.
Iverson.
There you go, Tyberson. Yeah, Cerritos is the new Tyberson. There we go. That's a very USL thing to say.
Minus the arguing of Tyberson.
Minus the attitude. Okay, so he's more of the Tiber, not the Sun. Gotcha. But no, Cerritos looks a player. He looks very speedy, very physically stout. And Amen is a center forward that RGV just has not had. And he looks a player as well, and he needs to be marked pretty well because I saw him be very physical with the loyal center backs and kind of have his way with them. He just couldn't get possession of the ball. And then he got subbed off for the aforementioned
Vicente Sanchez.
Yep, Sanchez, who headed the ball in after the San Diego Loyal center back or defensive midfielder forgot he's playing a soccer match. So what's going to be interesting to see is the midfield 4 of SAFC go against the midfield 3 of RGV, and to see how they deal with that overloading, if they bring Cerritos back or if they bring Sorto back to try to help out that midfield, because that's what Colorado Springs did, was they actually brought both of their top wingers back to kind of set up more of a 4-5-1 and to try to play out from there, and they did so very unsuccessfully. So what do you think RGV or SAFC is going to play in a mid-block 4-4-2 and a very pressing mid-block 4-4-2? How do you think RGV is going to try to play out of that?
For me, I kind of see it like in this formation, Wilmer having to adjust at times to a 4-4-2 diamond midfield,
Okay.
where he can kind of adjust that a little bit, where you can have Juan Kuzane on the left, James Murphy on the right, and have that diamond point of Rodrigo Lopez in the back, kind of free up either Cerritos or Ammo to kind of be like that offensive midfielder, kind of a counter that that defense that San Antonio can present at times, because they like to press a lot at times based on the few games that you guys have played.
Right.
So I kind of figured that if RGV does not present a 4-4-3, I kind of see a 4-4-2 diamond midfield.
Okay. And that would be a simple change. As I've discussed before, the difference between a 4-3-3 and a 4-4-2 diamond is one player basically gets, one of your wingers gets subbed out for a midfielder for strength in the midfield, which is exactly what RGV is going to need, strength in the midfield to try to negate SAFC's midfield. So it'll be another midfield battle. Fun. Another sludge fest. That'll be great.
Rafa, your thoughts with RGV and the attack going against the San Antonio defense, where according to Blue Collar Sports Stat, there may be another signing coming this week to fill some of the injuries that we've had on the back line here. How do you think SAFC deals with the RGV pressure? Because we know this game's physical. We know there's going to be fouls. There's going to be chippiness. It's from my understanding, even in the friendly a couple of weeks ago, that it wasn't two teams that get along. We'll just say even in a friendly. So, for that here, obviously, I think Tyler Derrick's, a great goaltender for USL, MLS quality for that here. But, so what's your thoughts on that as far as the defense?
I think the big difference is going to be the Tunisian Terminator. I think he's going to be real physical the way he plays, especially the last two games. He's just been cleaning a lot of things up. Now, that also depends if we get Axel back or Dole back or this signing, this supposed signing that, that's coming up this week. They just have to really kind of push around the RGV forwards and not give them any space to create any plays or shots. Just really kind of get into their heads. When you start getting into their head, that's when they'll start making mistakes, and that's what our defense needs to do. From the get-go, it's like you're gonna get through here. I know from the scrimmage they weren't able to score in the first half, and that was probably with our first team.
Right.
So they must have done something similar to, what hopefully they're probably going to do on Sunday. So I think they'll learn from that and then try to make a little, kind of defensive game plan to really hash out things and not make those same mistakes like what Loyal and also with New Mexico made. Even though, like I said, they're from set piece and so forth, you still have to defend no matter what. You can't leave anybody open. So keeping the minimum of the mental mistakes and just getting into their heads is going to be the key for keeping them from putting the ball between Cardoni.
Your thoughts, Ray, on when RGV attacks?
When RGV attacks, they're going to be very upfront about it. They're going to love to send numbers up front. That's just based on what I've seen on both the games. Is that they're going to love to send their pieces in numbers. Now, early on against San Diego, they kind of had that little difficulty just trying to get themselves in the offensive mindset, which is why you kind of saw that the substitution at the break, James Murphy coming in for Dispe, a center back, which allowed Juan David Cabezas to slot into that midfield position that Murphy was occupying. That kind of opened up that fill that the offense was needing, because they needed someone who can distribute the ball, break up the play, and start carbureting the offense and making their runs up front. So that's kind of something that you're going to have to keep an eye on. Where does Juan David Cabeza start? Does he play as a center back, or does he play in the midfield alongside with Rodrigo Lopez, Juan Cusain, or James Murphy, either side?
Any questions that you have for us, Ray?
I will ask. You guys have had Toronto, who has been a terrific midfielder, and you guys have another one in the ranks playing for you guys right now. I kind of forget his name off the top of my head.
Jose Gallegos is who you're referring
to. Gallegos, yes. And then you guys have PC, who's been magnificent early on. What do you kind of see from those two guys for this game that they've done some damage this last season against RGVFC?
So Jose Gallegos, the first couple matches, has been hurt. He has a lower body injury. And rumor has it he's kind of on his way out. The summer window opens in a couple weeks. So we're pretty sure he's going to be signing in Europe somewhere. He was on trial with FC Barcelona and Bayern Munich earlier this year. So we're pretty sure someone's going to pick him up. As far as Pirano, I mean, I'm sure he's in Portugal, and they just opened up their youth team leagues. So their U23 and U18 leagues have just started, so he's going to start seeing some match time over there. And now we come to PC. PC has typically been our number 6, our destroyer. and he's also been a really good distributor because of some early season injuries, which that's kind of the name of the game with SAFC already are injuries. We have 5 or 6 of them. He is playing as left back. He's not in the midfield. He's left back, and he's done pretty well. He's on pace to get his usual 500 yellow cards this season. So, that's going to be what it's going to be. But what SAFC is really trying to do this season is they have a mid-block 4-4-2. They are not letting people past, and they are just physically breaking down other teams. And that's what they've done 2 matches in a row, won most of the match with 10 men, but they still managed to really break down the other team and really didn't give up a lot. So it's a very physical, very high pressing. They borderline Liverpool gegenpress, where even when they lose the ball, they are pressing to get that ball back. So I'm interested to see if RGV throws the kitchen sink at SAFC at their net, if SAFC counter press it and opens them up, and we'll see who wins that, because the score line's either going to be a lot or it's going to be a little. And if it's little, it's advantage RGVFC. If it's a lot, it's advantage SAFC.
Two of the marquee signings that have really captivated my attention for San Antonio as well, Sam Gleadle and Marcus Epps, 2 guys who have been around the league, who know the league, and those 2 guys at any given moment they might have their outbursts, and particularly more in Marcus Epps, who's played frequently a lot in the Timber system, a team that has not done well in recent years until just recently. That's just something that's the one guy who I'd like to key in on the midfield. He's a guy who can really turn it up a notch and can really start the havoc against RGVFC.
So, game is going to be Sunday. I wish it was Saturday like originally scheduled, because
so
it probably
we
would
could
have.
go.
Same here. Same here. Believe me, I had to choose between 2 of the 3 engagements that I have to choose from.
Game is going to be Sunday. So to me, like I said here, it should be a good one. It's the last game of the USL week. Kickoff's at 7:30ish at HEB Park. For that here, for SAFC, I don't know, it's one where I think we're going to find out how good RGV is. They've shown that they're a very good team. San Antonio just now, as RGV says, fans, it took a pandemic for SAFC to finally get the head-to-head record against them. For that here, so.
I'm not happy about that.
Yes, but it is true. To be honest with you, it is a
shut up,
fact.
Harry. Shut up.
But to me, like I said here,
I think this game as a 6-pointer right now. I mean, I know
100%.
later on. Right now, I'm going to treat this as a 6-pointer, because right now we got the first one with New Mexico out of the way. Now we need to focus on this one. And there was a time where I mentioned in the Down in the Valley podcast where I said, we're lucky to get away with 6, maybe 5 points from this opening homestand stanza. Watch out for this team. So far, I've held true. I've held true to my word. The derby games are just so very unpredictable, because you throw the records outside the window.
Yep.
You just throw everything outside. Let's throw kitchen sink and everything else that is allowed.
Nothing would make me happier to have in this group, and it's very possible that it happens, SAFC number 1 at the end of the season, RGVFC number 2, and South Texas Rec Shop in the USL Western Conference playoffs. Nothing would make me happier than that.
Yeah, I would, no offense to Seek and Strike and my good friend Chris, but
Yeah.
I would love to
Obviously,
see the
dude.
top 4 CopaTejas run the mountain conference. And no offense to you, Landon, and to the back chat channel guys.
So we can take it back and call it the Lone Star Conference like it needs to be called. Come on. Mountain Conference.
Ray, I do want to thank you for hopping on here last minute. I know
No,
it's supposed
appreciate
to be
you guys.
And like
Thanks,
I said,
Ray.
Edson had
Problem,
a
guys.
family engagement.
Privileged.
But do turn into South Texas Border Sports. Ray does an excellent job, not just with RGV, but with the Vipers, the Vipers down there, and also other sports
I try to do a lot
coverage.
of the sports scene that does not include high school. There's
Yeah.
like 53 of them, and I don't need to hear it from all 53 of them.
I did ask Ray because we do soccer coverage. I did ask Ray, hey, do you do soccer coverage? And he's like, no. He's like, too much politics. I'll do the professional and the other stuff down here, but high school.
There was enough politics with the Dynamo and RGVFC. Come on.
So.
Well, I was getting flack with Lethal and with the Valley teams and so forth. I was battling them back and forth. So I would have loved to have you guys know to kind of talk smack on Lethal. So give him some your pointers on soccer
Pretty
down
good.
there in the Valley.
Let's just say it's. I think there's much more intensity towards Valley soccer, high school in general, than what there would be to the professional aspect of it.
Yeah, that's what Rafa said and that's what I asked. I think it was on. I think you were on there when I was on down in the Valley about how does RGV bring that high school soccer atmosphere to HEB Park along those lines. Because from what Rafa says, what you've said, and anybody that I've talked to when it comes to the high school ranks, to me it's probably on par, if maybe not even better than high school football as far as for the fan atmosphere down there.
To be honest, guys, I mean, I know they've had some high school soccer games there at HEB Park, and for some odd reason, maybe it might be a marketing aspect of it. I mean, I don't know what's behind it, but it's just something that, if the HEB Park people can embrace it and promote it the way it should be, like the way they do with the Toros, maybe they can work a marketing aspect into it, kind of draw more people into that stadium.
Stop signing old, retired Mexican soccer players and start signing young, just out of high school kids from local high schools in RGB.
Whatever. They just come in as score match winners. That's all they do. They just come in as score match winners.
The fan base is there because I was at the Valley View Kingwood Park game here at the Ferris Stadium. Yeah. There was a lot of people from Valley View there at the game. I just need to tell. I think Valley View needs a better soccer coach, but that's a whole nother thing, especially on fundamentals. I'm available, so if you need me,
I will tell you this much. I will tell you this much about Valley View. It's in the same town where I live in. Mm-hmm. Originally, they had fired their head soccer coach prior to the season starting, which made him the assistant coach. So the assistant took over as the head coach. I'm like, what? Like, why do this to a team that's been to the regional finals in like 2 years? Why do that?
Yeah, they also did that to one of their basketball coaches, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because I read the story of they made a change, and I was like, why would you do this in the middle of the district play too? You're going to make the change.
In the middle of a pandemic, too.
Yeah,
Bizarre. All right, Ray, we're going to let you go because we still have to wrap up one more thing here. Appreciate it, Ray. And like I said here, we'll maybe talk in 2 weeks when we get together again.
Yeah. Yep. Well, this Texas Tango gets together once again.
So you get to do what the 3-step, San Antonio, El Paso, and San Antonio again before you get to go to South Beach and get your tan on.
Go chill with Billy.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Go get some corteritos over there on South Beach. Low coffee.
Out of Billy Forbes.
Billy
Go say
Forbes.
hi to Billy Forbes over there as he rides the bench.
Oh,
Love you, Billy, but you're on the bench now, but
Yeah. Love you, fam. All right, Ray.
guys.
see you, Ray.
We'll see you, man.
All right.
All right, so I have to step out for a bit here, but Royce, if you would kind of talk about the interview with the Blue Collar Sports Dad, because we didn't get to talk to it, and there was a lot of information in there, and if you can hop on the was it the iHeart app, and I tweeted out the link, and if you follow Blue Collar Sports Dad, he also tweeted out the link to the podcast. But Coach Marcina had a couple of things to say here. Go ahead, Russ.
I was going to say, are you going to play it or am I going to go? Okay. Just to review it real quick, just to shorten and sweeten it up. So basically, Alan went on Sunday morning after the match to talk to Dylan and the Blue Collar Sports Dad about kind of the match and to kind of review it. He kind of said the normal things that Alan Marcina will say is that the culture is first, and that they showed their culture and being resilient in that match for as long as they were down a man, and still in some aspects were on the front foot. They didn't just sit back. They were just hard working, and I mean the team did really well despite. What he did say was he kind of mentioned the injuries, and he also mentioned that they were looking to make a signing very soon that they were going to announce for some help with the back line, because right now you have two center backs that are hurt. You have Doyle and you have Schuberg. And right now you have DePlane, who's kind of more of a right back, not really center back, although he has filled in extremely well. And you have the Tunisian Terminator and Kamiri back there. And they do need some help, whether it's a backup, whether they need to make a sub, whether, God forbid there's another injury. You do need another center back, and they are making that signing apparently, possibly as we speak. Robert, I'm not sure about Kai Green. I have not heard where he's at. Yarrow plays for San Diego Loyal, so that's kind of an option that's out. The option that I think is possibly going to be made is a guy that has not seen any action in the 18 for his match day squad for his team, who was with SAFC last season, and that's Callum Montgomery. I do know he got called up with the Canadian men's national team. When he went back to Minnesota, he did have a slight tear. He was injured, but that was over a month ago. And if it's a slight tear, that's typically a 2 to 4 week. If it's bad, 4 to 6 week thing. He's probably healthy now, and he still has not seen any time with his 18. It's very possible that SAFC is on the phone with Minnesota United saying, hey, does Callum need some playing time? Because we got some for him. And that'd be great. Callum is a left-footed, left-sided center back. That's kind of what we need to fill in. Kamiri is going to be on the right. That'd be a heck of a pairing if that's what we're going to roll with. So I have not heard. I want to reiterate, I have not heard any rumors. This is me pulling it from my butt, but it makes a lot of sense. Guy who has a lot of experience with the team. So we'll see. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Rafa.
Yeah, I think having Montgomery in would fit that need, especially in the depth. We really need that. I think our Tunisian Terminator can't handle everything, and then we're having players play.
Although we tried,
playing out of place, and you want to have your players on the right places because sooner or later that's going to get exposed. And they kind of got exposed a little bit on this past Saturday. So if it is true that if they do, I think he'd be the obvious choice to bring him back here. We just put him in, plug him in, and like I said, we're gonna have four deep wise once Axel and Doyle come back. We're probably gonna have the deepest center backs. Those four, maybe play all four of them on the back. Have the tall, everyone over 6'4".
Yeah. And that would give Marcina the flexibility to go back to that 3-5-2 that we had last season. and really get really creative with this super physical lineup that we have, which, I mean, that can only be a good thing. The more you can change things up depending on who you're facing,
Mhm.
you know, that only helps you. So we'll see.
I think one thing they do need to do, and if they are going to make that signing in the back, I think need to sign another forward.
Yeah, that's my concern is the forwards.
And I think we need to find another forward, maybe someone in MLS is, like I said, same things, just sitting on the bench, but has been a proven player in the past, has had success, or like I said, if it is Gallegos leaving, in June or July, right now would be probably the perfect time to sign that forward, so that way that player doesn't miss a beat and has to play catch up from learning the system.
It just depends on how long Dylan's out, because I've heard when Dylan returns, Nathan's good, but Dylan brings a different dimension to this. So to me, that determines how long is he out. Is he close to returning? To me, for the RGV match, especially if Nathan's suspended for the game, which is if he's got a red card, he's mostly likely out. Who is that second person up top that you're rolling with right now? If Dylan is out, that's the question right now.
Or do you play a 4-5-1?
No, I don't think you go that defensive. I think the other guy, like Rafa said, I think is going to be Ollie Wright up top with Patino if Nathan's not available and Dylan's not available. And I don't think he misses a beat because that kid has a lot of potential. I would love to see him out in that kind of space. I would love to see that.
Okay, what about Shandon Hopino? Is he a possibility? Because he's a little bit more experienced than Ollie.
Shandon, I think it's possible. I think Shandon is more of a fills in for Cuello or fills in for Epps whenever they go out. I think he's there to back up Epps or Cuello, depending on if they need a sub or not. And I think that's what Shandon is for, and I think that's what he's going to be dedicated with. Ollie's just going to fit in. Ollie, right. He's just going to fit in where they need him to be an attacker. And I think right now, to fill in for an attacker, if Dylan's not available, if Nathan's not available, I think it's Ollie Wright.
What about Leo Torres? Are you kind of surprised? And I know last game didn't really bring any opportunity, for youngsters to get time. But for Leo, he's kind of that next big academy. We played 2 games, no minutes as of yet. Could he possibly be somebody, or is he just that's really kind of outside of his realm?
I think Leo fills in if Ollie or Patino need a sub up top.
Final thoughts. I know this is a long one, already an hour and a half here. We'll start with you. I stole Robert's line, so for that here, so nice. Final thoughts here. We'll go with you, Rafa, to start out with.
Final thoughts, like I said, hopefully, like I said, whatever changes we make will be for the positive and help us get that little edge going into the RGV game and get us those 3 points. And like I said, we like to room. So has gone there, they've done it. So I think we have a good chance to get the 3 points. I think we're a little more athletic team, especially up front. I think we'll run around some of their old timers in the back, so we need to take advantage of that. But it'll be a close game, like they mentioned. It's a rivalry game, so the records are out the window. It's gonna be a chippy game, but I see us winning a close one. I think we'll win this one 2-1.
Your final thoughts there, Royce?
So my final thought for the week is Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, especially my mother and my beautiful wife, Susie, who puts up with mine and my son's crap daily, and she is an absolute hero for that. As for the match with RGV, I really think SAFC is going to overrun RGV. I think they have gotten lucky, and they've really played for that let's steal it at the end, and that will come back to bite you in the butt every time. But as unpredictable as RGVFC and SAFC matches have been, I think this is going to be a fairly comfortable 2-0 win for SAFC. 2-0.
I'm kind of with you, Royce, here, where I think RGV is much better than last year. I think they're a very
No
competitive
question.
team for it here. But I still don't think they're a top of the table team as of yet. And I do think San Antonio has the talent. I think they were a little bit unlucky this last game in a couple of different aspects where, everything went against them, in most of the 50-50 plays. I know Rafa made a comment during the game that, the 50-50 balls just weren't breaking San Antonio's way last week. Odds are that doesn't happen back to back. So I do think through there. And my final thought, circling back to the top, do want to thank Allison and Channing both coming on from the Athenians, and I apologize, Allison, that we couldn't quite get the connection working right for you tonight here. Thank you to Ray from coming on from the South Texas Border Sports. And please, fans, make it a doubleheader this week, or back-to-back games. The Athenians on Saturday night, 7:30 at Soccer Central. Doesn't cost you anything to get in. Go out, if you can, buy a scarf, buy a shirt, something along those lines to help support the game, because at that level, every dollar counts, and it really does, at that level, and to cheer on the Athenians, and the Soccer Central side is a great, to me, it's going to be a great showpiece for the San Antonio community once it is done. And thank you to Ray and Edson, from down in the valley for helping out with the with the kind of preview of the San Antonio RGV match. Looking forward to seeing what Sunday brings, even though I don't think a lot of people are going down because it's a Sunday for that here. But my final thought here, and like I said, it's one that I said I was going to try to make a pressing all year, for that here. If you're having thoughts about suicide or things along those lines, please get help. Please ask for help. The suicide hotline. Family, friends, somebody from school, neighbor, reach out. For that here, and especially as parents, pay attention to the kids. Watch the signs, make sure that, they're not withdrawing and stuff, for that here, because unfortunately we lost another one in the local community, at the school that, AJ and Anna go to. So when it comes to, suicide, please take it serious. Please take mental health serious. And, I know that's something that I've worked on this year is, the mental health aspect, not only for me personally, but also more for the family here. So, thank you, guys. Sorry to end on a heavy note, but what's life without goals? And like I said here, once again, thank you to Allison and Channing for coming on, and go Athenians.